Yeah, big welcome to everyone. We've got Future Golf TV, a very, very special guest today. He is a five-time PGA Tour winner, world number 15 at the moment, the only Australian player, first and only, to be the PGA Rookie of the Year. And on today's show, we've got Marc Leishman. So, Marc, firstly, just a massive thank you for joining us. And I know our community is going to be pumped to hear this chat.
Yeah, no worries at all. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, awesome, mate. So you're gearing up for Texas this week. What's that like, given what's been happening with Corona and the break at the moment?
Yeah, it's been a long break. It was a good start to the year for me, but then came to an abrupt halt. But it's been a good, 3 months off. Just the first 2.5 months were pretty much golf free, and then got back into it about a week and a half ago. Didn't take me too long actually to get back into the swing of things, and I'm ready to go for next week at Colonial.
Oh, that's awesome. So what you obviously start the year amazingly with the win in Jan, pumping along. Then the break happens. So when that takes place and you guys have the uncertainty of what's going on, like, do you just turn it off or put it on pause? Like, how is that for us mere mortals that don't really understand what it's like to be an elite athlete?
Yes, I guess I'm lucky in a way that I don't normally play that much on weeks off anyway. So it just felt like a long holiday more than anything else, because there was nothing really to do. But yeah, I got away from it. I kind of used it as an enforced off season, because I haven't really had an off season for probably about 12 years. Since I've been on the PGA Tour, it's been pretty much year-round golf, and so I got away from it. I tried to keep myself in decent condition, but as in body-wise and chipping and putting. But apart from that, I didn't really do anything, which was nice. So just a lot of time with the kids, a lot of time at home, which was interesting. I've never been home for this long ever, I don't think. So it was, I guess taking a positive out of a bad situation, as there is not too many positives. But that was one of them, that I was home a lot.
Well, we've got to touch on it since you have been home. You are arguably one of the best groundskeepers on the PGA Tour, maybe of all time. How's the lawn looking at the moment and the hole in the backyard?
Yeah, the lawn's looking really good, actually. Never looked. I've had nothing really else to do, so it's been getting a lot of attention. And it's been, keeping me somewhat in shape too, because, I'm just pushing the mower and being outside. It's hot here at the moment, hot and humid, so it takes it out of you, which is good. It's what I need when there's not otherwise a whole lot else to do. So, yeah, it's looking great, and when I leave Monday, it'll be feeling very neglected.
It's getting like scissor cut treatment at the moment. And I just saw this little video that the PGA Tour did. Now, what was the thought process when you were lighting the lawn on fire a little while ago to try to encourage a bit more growth?
Well, in the winter here, it goes completely dormant. So once it does start growing, I've got to get rid of all that dead grass on top. So I didn't burn the front lawn, and I had about 100 big garbage bags of grass. So there was a lot of grass. And the back, I burned it, and there was no bags of grass. So it saved me a lot of labour. Dark colour into it, and I guess the Aboriginals used to do it back home. They used to burn off, and it worked well for them. Probably still does. So I thought I'd give it a crack, and it worked well.
Proven method. Any plans to do it again?
I'll probably do it next year if the weather cooperates. You don't want it to be too dry and get out of control, but when I do it, it's in the winter, so it's there's not too much can go wrong.
That's awesome. And have you had any like mini tournaments or anything like that? Hosting any events in the backyard yet, or
Just with me and my son, my oldest boy Harvey. We have all the time. But no, it's been very low key.
Very low key. It just seems like one of those things that needs a membership, needs to be promoted out there. It's too good. Your version of Elliston, just in the backyard.
Yeah, it's good. A lot of it's enjoyable. I get a bit of practice done out there, and it's close to home, obviously, in the backyard, so don't have to drive anywhere and can just do what I need to do.
Yeah. No, awesome. And what are your thoughts? Like, we're obviously with Future Golf, we're all about trying to grow the game of golf and get non-sort of traditional golfers into the sport. What do you think, like, this opportunity, just with coronavirus and what's maybe happening with some of the other sports, presents for the game at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity for golf. To be the first or one of the first sports to go back and get that attention. I think it's a really good opportunity to get some new players, particularly kids. And if any sport really says social distancing, it's golf. So I think it's like I said, it's a big opportunity for the tour. It's a big opportunity for golf courses, and for the future of golf. So yeah, I'm trying to find any positive at all with this thing, and I think that is one of them for golf, that it could get a few more players.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely agree with that. I think we're seeing a lot of that, especially with footy players, cricketers, soccer players that can't, potentially will have to wait a little bit longer looking for something to do. And yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, it is a big opportunity for the game, and we get more people into the sport.
For sure.
Going back to your journey, how did it all start for you? A country lad from Warrnambool?
Yeah, so I played all sports growing up. Loved my cricket, football, surfed a bit. Anything with the ball I loved. So I played golf. I've played golf my whole life, but never really played on a golf course until I was about 8. So I played all sports until I was about 15. And then I started getting injured a lot playing cricket. I was a bowler. So I gave that away and just concentrated on golf. So, and I was always better at golf too. I mean, I wasn't going to make a living out of cricket. Golf, you never know. You hope you're going to make a living, but no until you actually do. So I thought that was my best chance, and it was a game I enjoyed the most. So it was I think you always do stuff better when you enjoy it, and I definitely enjoyed golf.
So did you kind of know, like, around that when you were 8, that I've got a bit of talent here, or did that dream start at a pretty young age?
Well, I guess everyone dreams when they're that young, but it wasn't until I was probably 13 or 14 that I really thought I could make a living out of it, or hoped I could make a living out of it. Obviously wanted to be a player on the PGA Tour, but I knew that it would probably either be a club pro or a teaching pro, or run a golf course or be on a ground staff or something like that. I knew I was going to be in the golf industry, and then just to do what I'm doing now is the dream, and I know I'm very lucky to be doing it.
No, that's awesome. And so when you're 13, 14, what sort of handicap are you playing off at that age?
So I won the A grade club championship when I was 13. So I think I was playing off 4 then. I don't think I got down to scratch until I was 16, maybe 15 or 16. But yeah, it wasn't until I was probably 16 that I really started, like, really taking off. Winning state and national junior stuff, and that was when I realised that it was a real chance to do something with my clubs, rather than helping other people.
Yeah. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you just come across as one of the most relaxed guys on tour, arguably maybe in sport. Was that attitude always like that? Like, even when you're going through those teenage years, and were you taking it? Was there pressure, or was it pretty relaxed while you're going through that journey?
There was never any pressure. I just always enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I still do. And I think going through other stuff is not taking it too seriously, but knowing it's your job and you have to have that right balance. You can't just mess around, but you've got to take it. You have to know how hard to try, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you try too hard, you're just digging a hole for yourself. You play terrible. So I think it's a matter of not trying too hard, but not going too easy, and other life stuff as well. Like, you go through other things, and that can kind of put golf into perspective. I think that it's not life or death. So I think that they help as well, just having that perspective. But yeah, I've always been pretty laid back with everything. Obviously certain things annoy me, but things that annoy everybody. So I'm no different there.
Yeah, you're human. So you're in the teenage years. You go through and turn professional. Or was it 21 when you turned pro? Is that right? Yep. And then what's that like? So it now goes from kind of being that passion bit to transitioning into potentially being your career. What was the Q school years like? And any moments? Tell us a little bit about that.
It was tough. I never wanted to turn pro until I knew I was going to make money. I didn't want to be out there struggling to get by. I waited. In 2005 was my last year as an amateur, and that year I played. I think I won 2 national trial events. I won the Capera Bowl and Belmont, the Lake Macquarie. And I didn't play that well at Capera Bowl and won. So I was like, all right, it's time. So I remember I came over to America for the amateur tournaments, had fun. I wasn't taking them too seriously. I just had a lot of fun. It was like my farewell to amateur golf. And
gap year.
Yeah, then the serious stuff began in August of 2005. So I went to Australian Q school at the end of 2005. I finished 5th or 3rd or 5th there and got my full card. Then I went to Asian Tour School and missed. I went to US Tour School and missed. And I ended up having to go to Korean Tour School and got on the Korean Tour. So I played 2006 in Korea. Played well up there. I had a win, and I won a couple of times on the Von Nider Tour at the time in Australia that year. So I think I had 3 wins in my first year as a pro. Got enough money to be able to come over to America and do the Monday qualifiers. So for the nationwide tour at the time. So I missed my first 7 in a row. And I don't think I shot over 70 in any of them, and didn't get into any events. So that was pretty deflating.
Yeah.
But, knew I was playing well, eventually got into one, and I think I had a top 25, and then I was away. So if you had a top 25, you got into the next event.
Yep.
So, started with one top 25, and then, you have a 4-round tournament and you're good to go, if you're playing well. So got made enough money that year to get my full card the following year on the nationwide, and then my first year on the nationwide I had a win and a couple of decent finishes and got my tour card, and this is my 12th year on the PGA Tour. So it's my whole career has been sort of baby steps, just went from the secondary Australian Tour to the big one, Korea to nationwide tour to PGA Tour, and wins are sort of progressing in a similar fashion as well. So it's been it's been a fun ride.
Like the theme, like you're pretty chilled when you talk about that, but the theme that comes out to me there is perseverance and resilience. Like you went through, what was it, four tour schools, and you're shooting in the 60s probably most weeks without breaking through. How do you keep the mindset to keep persisting throughout that period?
I think that's where it was important for me to be using my own money.
Yeah.
I made enough money in Korea to keep me going for a couple of years. I think I made $110,000. and I knew that'd get me through a couple of years. So I guess I had 2 years to give it a crack. And because I guess it's, it wasn't my parents' money or anything like that, so I didn't feel like I was a burden on them. I think that was a big part of it, but I guess just belief in yourself too. I knew that when I turned pro, I was good enough to be doing that, to take that next step. And I've always wanted to play against people who are better than me or the best, to try and improve myself. And, those first 7 events, I did play with some guys that, first 7 qualifiers, I played with some guys that got in, and I think I learnt from them. And then, you're always learning. I'm still learning now. So I think that's the main thing. You don't always learn something when you win, but when you're not winning, that's when I feel like that's when you learn. So it's not a failure if you learn something. I think that's pretty important for kids or anyone really to understand that as long as you learn something, it's always a positive.
Yeah. Is there like a moment or a lesson that sticks out throughout that journey?
Oh man, there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, playing in Korea was amazing. I loved it. It was good money. They were good players, and the experiences I got from that were unbelievable. You'd be in the middle of nowhere playing a tournament, staying in this hotel in the middle of nowhere, and you'd have to find a restaurant, and you'd go into this restaurant, and there'd be a menu in Korean and no pictures, and you're just pointing at something on the menu and just hoping it's not dog. So you find yourself, mooing at what servers and barking at them. Like, it's like you're trying to get your point across that you want this, not that. And yeah. I mean, they probably thought we were crazy, but it seemed like we did that every second week up there. That you're doing stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's plenty of moments, but that's they're the ones that probably stick out. The one that sticks out
the life experience, having soju bombs in karaoke bars.
Exactly. We had some nights celebrating there, and it was at a karaoke bar, and it got pretty messy.
Yeah, I remember in Sydney one night finding myself in a karaoke bar at about 4 a.m. and just thinking, wow, the Koreans really know how to party. It was
they absolutely
unexpected. So then you get through Q school. Well, firstly, what's that first win like? Like, you're country lad from Warrnambool, you find yourself in Korea, you get your first check. I know the dollars are probably a lot different now, but having that win, how important was it relatively early on in that journey? And then, like, what was it like just seeing that amount come into the bank account or getting the check or whatever it would be?
I'd won a few weeks before in the Toyota Southern Classic in Sydney. I remember I shot 60 in the first round and won that quite easily. So it wasn't a nervous finish or anything. I think I won it by 8 or 10 shots. So it was nice to have that first win where I could cruise in. And then in Korea, my first tournament there, I actually had my ball. I was leading my first tournament over there through 2 rounds and had my ball thrown into the trees on the 3rd hole of the 3rd round. And I had to play it from the trees. Call a rules official over. He's like, no, you got to play it from there. I'm like, obviously there was some. So the next week, I'm like, I'm going to get so far in front that no one's. So I shot 61 in that first round. It was 11 under, and then I think I won that tournament by 11 shots or something. So it was so much fun. Just having that. Just getting that confidence, I think, and then knowing that, all right, well, I had 5,000 in my bank account. Now I've got 65,000. I think it was $60,000 I won in that one in Korea, which probably equated to close to 100,000 Australian. So then all right, well, I've got this. That's going to get me through to the end of 2007, worst case scenario. So. That's what I was always thinking. I always thought, all right, I had a date in my head where that money would get me. And then when I won more, then it would get me another 6 months or another whatever. And then eventually you just stop thinking about that because you don't have to worry about that anymore. So that's a pretty good feeling when you get to that point.
No, that's amazing. And then 2009, you have your breakout season. After going through that process, what was 2009 like?
It was amazing. It was a few pinch yourself moments.
Yeah.
My first tournament, I finished 12th at the Sony Open, which was really cool. It was by far the biggest checkered one, and I finished 12th. So that was pretty good. And then I didn't actually play that good until probably I had 2 top 10s in May in a row in Texas, and then I didn't play great and just started playing good in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I finished I eagled the last hole in the second in the Deutsche Bank to get into the BMW, and then I finished second in the BMW to Tiger. I played with him in the last round, and then all of a sudden I'm in the Tour Championship. So I've gone from trying to keep my card to now I'm in the Tour Championship and all the majors next year. So that was a cool year. I didn't probably celebrate that or enjoy it after it as much as I probably should have. Just because it all happened so fast. But that was it was a really good year. I just like I say, played with a lot of the people I'd looked up to my entire life, and became friends with a lot of them, which was good.
And that sort of camaraderie part of it, have you had any mentors that stand out, like while you've been on the tour or that you've lent on?
Yeah, so a few. John Senden has been really good to me. John Senden, Rod Pampling, and Nathan Green early on was they've been really good to me early on, and then now it's I still ask guys for advice. You play a practice round and ask them how they hit a certain shot. So I do that a lot with Adam Scott, and I've actually learned a lot off Cam Smith too recently. So mentors are not necessarily always older than you, and that's that took me a while to learn. But yeah, I think John Senden's the one that sticks out the most. He's been really good for me and really good to me. And he's a great player as well, great guy.
And that's pretty awesome in golf, that given how much of an individual sport it is, the fact that you, Scotty, and Smithy can sit there and share tips and advice, it's pretty unique. Like do you ever sit there and you're like, oh, maybe I'll just keep this one to myself, or because I'm competing against these guys next week?
No, not really. I mean, because you always want. Well, I don't know if they do, but you always want to play against people that are playing their best, and you want to play better than them. That's the way I look at it. I want to play someone. I don't want to beat someone who, coming down the stretch, who finishes double and I win by a shot. I don't want that to happen. I would rather finish birdie, and he finishes birdie, and Yeah. So obviously you take a win any way you can get it, but I want to play someone when they're playing their best and beat them head to head.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's such a cool mentality to have. And so 2012, you have your first win, but consistently playing well, even from 29 to 2012. Was there pressure building while you're just so close to the mark, but waiting for that breakthrough? Or tell us what that was like.
Yeah, there was. It was, you wonder if it's ever going to happen. Playing against great players every single week. I'd played good a few times, put 4 good rounds together and just been outplayed. So I knew I needed to get better, and I felt like I was playing good early in 2012, but my results weren't great. So I actually started working with a mental coach, Neil Smith. So he's an Australian guy who lives in LA, and started working with him, and pretty much instantly the good play started turning into good results. So there was just something not quite clicking in my head. I was there's a lot of things not quite clicking in my head, to be honest, but but there was a couple of things that weren't quite adding up, and he put his finger straight on it, and the results came pretty much straight away. I mean, 2-3 weeks after we started working together, I finished third at the Byron Nelson in Dallas. And that was in May, and then I won in June at the Travelers. So it's nice when you can put work in, not necessarily like physical work, but other like a different type of work, and get results. It's not always the physical stuff that gets you over the line. It's a lot of golf is mental.
Yeah.
I learned it took me, 8 years as a professional to work that out.
Are there any like mental tips that you'd have just for your average punter when they're going out on Sunday and worried about the first tee shot?
I guess the advice I would have would be for someone who's pretty established as a golfer. But just no one cares how you play, really. I mean, it's if you hit a bad shot, it's not going to wreck anyone's day unless it hits them. But so don't worry about it. Like, I would much rather play with someone who had 95 and had an awesome day and didn't care about it, than someone who shot 71 and carried on about the 4 bad shots they hit for that day. I would much prefer that. But a lot of the stuff that I work on is it's breathing stuff, just making sure my brain's got enough oxygen to function right, which sounds like a really simple thing, but it's very important, particularly when you're under the pressure and you're trying to control adrenaline and trying to hit a wedge shot a certain distance. That's really important. And then that's probably the main thing I would say.
I think that both of those pieces of advice are just so valuable, because we see it so much when people are entering the game. They're so self-conscious and worried about how it looks, where the ball's going, if one goes off to the right or slices, and that sort of self-talk that becomes pretty negative. I think that's just, it stands out. And I've never really heard that piece of advice from a professional. And I think it's super valuable for every golfer, just to realise that, most people are probably just worried about their own game realistically while
it's, you don't want to worry about what other people are thinking of you, because no one really cares what you shoot, to be brutally honest. It's they don't care if you shoot 70 or 100. It's, as long as it don't hold them up, they're good.
Yeah, it's a bit like telling someone about your dream that you had last night. No one really cares all that much, because
exactly.
No, that's awesome. So tell us a bit about let's touch on the British Open, talking about sort of the resilience side and what that was like. I know there was a fair bit going on around that time as well. I think, was it your caddy found out his wife was pregnant during the weekend, and stacks of things happening around that moment. What was that experience like?
Yeah, it was amazing. I didn't do much early in the week, like Thursday, Friday. I played okay, but not great. It was enough to make the cut, but then I remember playing with Marcus Fraser actually in the third round, and shot. I really got it going. I had a chance to shoot a really, really low one, and shot. Ended up shooting 64 in the third round, and then playing with Padraig Harrington in the final round, and got it going again. And then I think I was leading, coming down the back nine, and it was pretty recent after all the stuff with Audrey had happened, my wife, and so I wasn't nervous at all. I wasn't really feeling anything. It was quite weird actually, and remember I missed probably about a 5-footer for par on 16. Looked like I'd made a putt. It just lipped out on 17 from about 80 foot from the front of the green, and then I had like a 30-footer on the last to pretty much win, and just misread it. But that was a really cool week. just being in that situation, especially at St Andrews, that was pretty close to a dream come true. It wasn't quite, in the playoff, I hit my tee shot down the middle of the fairway on the first and went straight into a divot. So that was pretty much my tournament over. But it was a really good week, and hopefully I can get back there again and lift that claret jug at some point.
Cool. And it seems like even with the Masters, like the performances in the majors have been amazing. And I don't know, like there's something about, you seem to be, I think in horse racing, it'd be like the horse that comes from behind. Like you can just drop those really low scores on a Saturday and Sunday. How do you just turn that on?
That's what I've always said. I describe it as that. I'm not the front runner. I'm the bloke horse who comes from behind, and I just need to get off to a good start in one of the majors and look out. But hopefully I can do that at the end of the year this year, and would be nice to slide on that green jacket. Or normally the British Open and the Masters are the two majors that set up best for me. But this year the PGA actually in San Francisco is love that golf course, and love San Francisco, so I'm excited about that one as well this year.
Yep. And does your preparation change, like if you're pinpointing some of those tournaments?
Just the lead up a little bit. I always like to have the week before a major off. I get there fresh and I'm ready to and want to play golf. I get sick of golf pretty quickly. So if I play 3 events in a row, generally by the third week, my head is somewhere else. So I'll have a lighter schedule leading up to the majors. But apart from that, I mean, I treat them like I get there the same day. I'll get there Monday like I do any other tournament. I'll prepare like any other tournament because, I'm preparing to win every tournament that I play in. I know I'm not going to win every tournament that I play in, but I'm preparing to win, if that makes sense. So I'm doing everything I can to give myself the best chance. And, I feel like if I prepare differently for the majors, that's kind of kick in the backside for the other tournaments that I'm maybe not trying as hard in. And I'd never do that because they're all very meaningful.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And tell us a little bit, you touched on it briefly there, that period sort of with Audrey and what happened with the sepsis. And also the work that you guys are doing with the Begin Again Foundation. Would love to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, so we've got a few different programs that we're doing with the Begin Again Foundation. We fund the social work department at the local children's hospital, which wasn't getting any funding at all. So we're fully funding that. If someone can go home but they don't have the money to buy the machine that maybe is $500 for this machine that's going to save their kid 2 weeks in hospital, we'll pay the $500 and save the family the $15,000 or $20,000 future hospital bills. So we try and make the money go a long way. So we got that, and we got a lot of other lines as well. We fund survivors of sepsis and toxic shock syndrome and a few other things, but a lot of it's awareness. I mean, because sepsis is very common. I'm not sure how many Australians, but I know it kills 270,000 Americans every year. And it's a blood poisoning, and you can get it from any infection. So, you cut your finger, you can get it from that. And if you know the symptoms, you're like, geez, I think I'm getting sepsis. I better go to the hospital straight away, because for every hour that goes by, your chance of dying goes up 8%.
Yeah, wow.
So if you go with symptoms, sleep for 10 hours, there's your 80% chance, you're probably going to die. A lot of people do that. So we're trying to get the symptoms out there so people know what they are, and we feel like that's what's going to save the most lives. That's what, if you are watching, look up the symptoms of sepsis, and because, it does kill a lot of people, and it's not really spoken about. So I'd never heard of it when Audrey, and like I say, it kills more people than so many diseases combined. So yeah, we're doing that, and yeah, it's just nice to be able to help out.
Yeah, awesome. Now we'll definitely share a link. I think the awareness of it is really important, and as you said earlier, it's probably one of those symptoms and diseases that people don't really hear much about, because it does come as such a surprise. So I think that's awesome and great work on that. And yeah, we'll share that with our community. And then speaking about passions, on the other side of it, you've got Leishman Lager at the moment. A bit of a, amazing beer that you guys have launched with the Warrnambool team. So that's a pretty cool story about that. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with that and where everything's at with the Leishman Lager at the moment.
It is a cool story, actually. I've had the beer over here, the Leishman Lager in America, for about 4 years. Yeah. And we decided that, everyone in Australia, a lot of people in Australia was asking me, like, when are you bringing it to Australia? When are you bringing it? And we looked into it, and to bring this beer to Australia, it was probably going to cost about $80 a box on the shelf. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. I wouldn't buy it, so I'm not expecting to buy it. So few of the boys in Warrnambool, we decided that we'd get. There was a few of us that got together, and from all different fields. Obviously, I'm a golfer. We got a lawyer. We got a publican, and Will's a bit of everything. So it's perfect. So we launched that. Probably it wasn't until late last year that we decided that we were going to do something, and then we launched the beer middle of December last year, and it just took off. So it's a full flavored mid-strength. It's really, really nice beer. I miss it over here, actually. But it's going well. Everyone's enjoying it. Just really enjoying the just seeing it grow and seeing how much people love it. So it's exciting. Hopefully, we'll be able to make it grow bigger and more people can taste it.
Yeah, I think it's already starting to gain so much traction at so many golf clubs, especially, and with your name on it, right, and the way that you go about it right now, and just how good the beer is. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of it. And just wanted to touch on that because it sounds like such a cool passion project. And just because of what we've got with Future Golf, like a similar thing started with mates wanting to just play golf together and getting out there. And rumor has it is that you actually decided to make one of the moves after the British Open, I think, and possibly having a few beers. Is there a story that exists somewhere in that with the origin story of Leishman Lager?
Oh, so last year we with the British Open in Northern Ireland, a few of the boys came over, and I actually missed the cut, and it was funny because I need 10 minutes after I have a bad day, and I'm good to go.
Yeah.
But the guys didn't really know that, so we get to the pub, and they're all kind of tiptoeing around me, and Matty, who one of the boys that were in the beer with, he broke the ice and gave me a bit of stick, and it was really good. Like I gave a bit back to him, and then it was all good, and we had far too many beers. I wish I was drinking mid-strength that night. I would have felt a lot better the next day. But that's where we sort of spoke about it and how we were going to go about it and what we wanted it to taste like, and it's turned out, I mean, pretty much exactly how we wanted it. Yeah. That was probably the most nervous I've been in the last few years, was tasting that beer for the first time, just hoping it was going to be good. So, it's pretty cool. It's nice to have, I do enjoy a beer or two. Love my golf, and I feel like it's a really good. Yeah, it's nice and light and easy to drink.
Oh, that's awesome. The big lesson I take from that is that it's really good to start business plans and to have strategic meetings after a few Leishman Lagers. That's where the magic happens.
Exactly, yeah. Stuff was on a coaster. and I think Matt's still got the coaster. So it's
framed up on the wall. That's brilliant.
exactly, yeah.
That's an awesome story. And then just as we kind of wrap up here, like just for a message for golfers out there that are getting into the game, that maybe looking at returning to the game, what would you have to say to them?
Well, I mean, it's a lot of the people that I've met through golf have become some of my best friends. I feel like it's a really good social game, and it's a great way to get out of the house for a few hours. It's something you can do with your kids, you can do it with your parents, you can do it with anyone. You can do it by yourself. So that's what I love about it. And just, it's such a challenge. I mean, no matter how good you get, you're always looking to get better, and you can get better. You can shoot 60. I've shot 60 before, and I was looking back on it, and I'm like, man, I could have shot 58 if I missed hold this. Like, it's impossible not to do that. So, you go out the next day and you're trying to do better than what you did, even though you're probably not. But I love the challenge of it. It's a mental test, really, really big mental test, and I feel like it doesn't just help your golf, but I think it helps you in life as well, and I think that's a pretty important thing.
Yeah, for sure. And so can you do, like, if you need to turn it on, do you have that switch where you can be like, all right, I need to shoot a 66? Because us as an amateur, we're like, I'd love to shoot an 88 today, but I'll probably shoot a 95. Like, that's the reality of it. Do you have certain levers that you can pull that just...
Well, you need the situation to kind of help you with that as well. Like, if I went out to my local course tomorrow and it's like, you have to shoot 66, well, I could probably say I had to shoot 62. I would probably, bogey the first and the fourth, and then I'd just start doing stupid stuff. So it's like, yeah, it has to be, the situation has got to be right. And sometimes you just don't have it. You, like I was saying before, you don't want to try too hard, because that's when things can go pear-shaped really quickly. So you need to try that right amount and just let it happen. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, there'll be days when it does happen and there'll be days when it doesn't, but you just got to hope that the days when it does are when it needs to happen. For, like at Terai Pines earlier this year, I had to have a really low one in the last round, and I've got Rory McIlroy and John Rahm and all these great names ahead of me. And I think I was 4 back of them, and I needed to shoot a real low one, and got off to a good start and did. But there's also days where I've had to shoot a real low one and gone out and shot 74. So you can think that, and that's the good thing about golf as well, because you can think that you know how to flick that switch, and then you'll go to flick that switch and it'll short circuit, and so it's it's a cool game.
Yeah. It's that balance you were speaking about earlier. And
yeah,
speaking about a couple of the current guys on tour, are there any out there at the moment where you watch them and and this may be a strange question because it's current, you're still playing, where you're awestruck, or you're like, how does he do that? Or or have you kind of seen it all now?
There's a few different things that get me. One of them's Rory, how good he is, and how good he drives the ball for a little fella. And well, he's not tiny, but he's he's not the tallest guy. He's obviously very flexible and has got great timing and just bombs it. So that Rory really impresses me. I think when he's on, he's almost unbeatable. Brooks's mental game, he has that switch and knows where it is, and it works most of the time. And then Tiger just plays still. He just, every time you play with him, he hits the right shot every time. Like if there's a shot that, if there's a right pin and there's a shot that calls for a high fade, landing soft and spinning right, that's the shot he tries to play, no matter the situation. So he still he impresses me a lot. But so they would be the three that for three different reasons.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome. Do you have any Tiger stories that stand out?
I had probably a couple. I had the first time I ever played with him at the BMW, my rookie year on tour. We're in the last group together, and I was a nervous wreck on the first tee, and I was thinking it's a perfect 3-wood off that tee. And I thought I've got to hit driver because I'm worried that I'm either going to top or fat or do something stupid with my 3-wood. At least driver, I'll get it in the air. But actually ended up hitting 3-wood, hit a good shot, and then I was away, played a good round. And then at the Masters a couple of years ago, I was playing with him. I don't know if you remember the shot, but I hit a big hook around the trees on 15 to a beat. So I was playing with him that day. So I'm maybe one back or leading at the time. He's fighting to make the cut. It was Friday afternoon. So I've pulled my drive and I've hit this ridiculous shot around the trees and hit it to about 4 foot. And, you know, when you bowl a strike, when you go 10 pin bowling, sort of walking back and you don't really know, you don't want to smile, but you sort of don't know where to look. Well, it was sort of like that. I was walking over and he goes, shot leash. Like, yeah, thanks, Tiger. He was about 10 to me and 10 yards right, so he had an easier shot. He got shot leash. I'm like, yeah, thanks, Tiger. He goes, I suppose I can't lay up now, can I? I was hit a shot on the green as well. So it was, that was a pretty good one to get the recognition from him for such a good.
Yeah, and I'm guessing he's not a guy that would give out the recognition all that often. Like, you have to do something relatively ridiculous to.
Funny guy. We get along really well, but yeah, not always. So it's he's great to play. So much energy around the groups that he's in, and I enjoy playing in that energy. So I love it when I do get paired with him.
Awesome, mate. Well, I think we'll wrap it up on that note, mate. It's been absolutely amazing. So just thanks again for taking the time to have a chat. And cool. We're all behind you. We'll be rooting for you this season. Hopefully you can just pick up where you left off and just win every single start from here on in.
That would be great. I can do.
Yeah, we called it here first.
Mate,
it's been amazing, and thanks again.
No worries. Thanks.